Welcome to Fresh Movie Recaps. In this video, I'm going to explain the 2018 action thriller movie, titled Peppermint. Spoilers ahead. The movie opens with two people struggling in the car. Inside, Riley North is fighting with a thug and he slices her thigh. She points the gun at him and asks if he remembers her, but he curses and Riley kills him. Riley removes his body and places it in the trunk before heading to a skid row, where she's been laying low. Inside her van, she tends to the wound, takes a drink, and proceeds to stitch it up. Opening a box, Riley discovers some Girl Scout cookies. 5 years earlier, Riley and her daughter Carly while exiting a cookie fair. Peg, a wealthy woman and mother of another Girl Scout, engages in an argument over parking, hurling insults before storming off. Carly tells her mom that she should punch her face, but Riley tells her it's a bad thing and they should not do that. Riley brings Carly to her husband, Chris, instructing him to handle Carly's birthday celebration until she returns, then heads to work. At the bank where she's employed, her boss requests her to put in some extra hours. Meanwhile, Mickey, Chris's partner, presents him with a dubious deal fraught with risk. Though hesitant, Chris is persuaded by Mickey's promise of a better life for Riley and Carly. Returning home late, Riley discovers that nobody attended the party. She gets to know that all the kids went to Peg's holiday party, which she threw on purpose. To lift Carly's spirits, Riley proposes they attend the Christmas carnival for some fun. Excited, Carly eagerly agrees, while Chris assures Riley he'll improve things. Recognizing the risks involved, he contacts Mickey to retract his involvement. Cortez, a member of the gang, surveils Chris and his family. Upon their departure, Cortez notifies his boss, Diego Garcia, who is currently confronting Mickey for embezzling his funds. Cortez informs Garcia that he's located Chris and is monitoring his movements. Garcia wants him dead to serve as a stark warning to anyone who dares to cross him. Chris, Riley, and Carly are having a great time, taking pictures and enjoying every ride at the Christmas carnival. Just then, 3 hitmen arrive in a car. Chris and Carly walk towards the car, and the hitmen start firing at them. Chris and Carly died on the spot. Riley also gets shot multiple times and falls down. Summoning her strength, she rushes to them, tears streaming down her face as she embraces her lifeless daughter. Soon after, assistance arrives and they transport Riley to the hospital. Upon arrival at the scene, Detectives Carmichael and Moises are greeted by a grim sight. Carmichael is visibly affected by the sight of Carly's lifeless body. A month later, Riley awakens in the hospital, where Carmichael approaches her. He asks her to identify 3 suspects in their custody, or they will get released the next day. Riley gets to know that Chris got killed because he was planning to steal something from a drug dealer, Diego Garcia. Carmichael tells her that Chris dropped the idea, but the word already got out. Riley cries with grief. He gives her the pictures they had together before they were shot. Riley looks at the pictures and recollects the memory. When Carmichael was about to leave, Riley says she remembers the shooters. Riley then manages to go with Carmichael and identifies all 3 shooters who were standing in the line. Henderson, the opposing counsel, barges in and endeavors to persuade Riley to drop her case with a monetary offer. She orders him to leave, but he notices her antipsychotic medication and insinuates that her perception might be distorted. Angered, Riley forcefully returns his money and pushes him aside. Defiantly, Henderson declares that she won't attain justice and departs. In the court, Henderson keeps drilling her and makes her confess she is under antipsychotic medication. He convinces the court that Riley is delusional and no truth in her statement. Riley asks her lawyer for help, but the district attorney remains silent and doesn't care. Judge Stevens rules in favor of the accused, leaving Riley devastated. She confronts the judge, insisting that they are responsible for her family's death. In a fit of rage, she charges toward the killers, prompting an officer to use a taser on her. Riley is then escorted away by the officer, and the judge orders her to undergo a mental health program. In the ambulance, Riley hears them talking about that facility is a nightmare. She immediately grabs a cylinder and hits Carmichael and runs away. Carmichael and Moises visit her family cemetery to find any trace, and they assume she will show up again. Coming to the present, they visit a crime scene and find the 3 hit men dead. They realize Riley is back. Meanwhile, an FBI agent, Lisa Inman, gets to know Riley has robbed few weapons from a gun store 2 days back. In her hideout, Riley gathers her belongings and departs. Meanwhile, Lisa contacts Carmichael and Moises, informing them that Riley absconded after stealing $50,000 from the bank where she worked. With suspicions mounting against Riley for the murders and her prolonged evasion of law enforcement, she prepares to exact revenge on those accountable for her family's demise. On the 5th anniversary of their deaths, Riley emerges to confront those responsible. Meanwhile, Riley is at the home of Judge Stevens. She ties him up and nails his hands to the table. She asks if he remembers her, but he has a long, corrupt history. She takes a toy in the display and leaves from there. Riley hops on a bus and detonates the bomb, blowing Stevens out. Carmichael gets to know that Riley killed lawyer Henderson, district attorney on the previous night, and Judge Stevens by exploding his house. Garcia gets to know that Riley killed lawyers and their men. He tells Cortez to place a price on her head and finish it. Garcia faces threats from a rival cartel after Riley destroys 2 of their shipments within a week. Riley tails Marvin, Garcia's employee, to the piñata store where he launders the money of the cartel. She disguises as a poor woman and kills 2 men to enter inside. The gang identifies her as the woman on the news, and they start shooting at her. Riley guns down the gang one by one until she finishes them all off in a scary battle. She then goes to Marvin to get some information. She burns down the shop with all the money. Marvin briefs Garcia on the situation. Riley's actions have gained widespread attention in the media, with various theories emerging on social platforms. Meanwhile, Lisa and Carmichael delve into the piñata store investigation. Despite the evidence, Carmichael doubts Riley's capability to orchestrate such an operation. He informs Moises that he intends to reach out to narcotics to gather information on Garcia's whereabouts. Lisa gets curious over Riley's hideout, since she has been there for the last 3 months. Garcia kills Marvin and thinks he must have told Riley about the lab. He sets a trap to kill Riley. Lisa and Carmichael go to Crime Analysis Wing and find her location. They get surprised as Riley is getting a lot of support from the people. Upon entering the warehouse, Riley discovers the tripwire and explosives, with Garcia's men lying in wait for her. Recognizing the trap, she swiftly retreats to a secure location before the men can spot her and trigger the explosion, resulting in the destruction of the entire building. They leave the place thinking Riley is dead. Riley comes out from the sewer tank and steals a car to go after the guys. After trailing them for some time, she catches up with them, blocks the road and kills them both. She manages to get to Garcia's building using their men's truck. She sneaks from behind the truck and starts eliminating Garcia's bodyguards. She gets inside the building and goes on a killing spree of all his men in sight. By the time she reaches Garcia, his daughter comes out, and she sees Carly in her and hesitates to shoot. Garcia sees the opportunity. He stabs Riley and runs from there with his daughter. As the police arrive, Garcia and his men manage to flee the scene. Meanwhile, Riley makes her escape and tracks down Peg at her residence and punches her immediately. After restraining Peg, Riley tends to her injuries, taunting her about her failed marriage and her husband's infidelity. Subsequently, Riley absconds with Peg's car, leaving her behind. Lisa calls Carmichael to Skid Row and shows Riley's vehicle, and she is the guardian angel for them. Lisa wants to catch Riley alive and use that information to nab Garcia and his suppliers. As she nears the realization that someone is leaking information to Garcia, Carmichael shoots Lisa, revealing himself as the traitor. Carmichael then informs Garcia of Riley's whereabouts, prompting Garcia to mobilize his men and conduct a thorough search of the Skid Row area in pursuit of Riley. Riley confronts Garcia's associate, Cortez, and kills him along with his gunmen. Riley finds Lisa's body and uses her phone to live stream it to the media and exposes Carmichael as a dirty cop. She invites the police and media to that area. Garcia calls Riley out using a radio and orders her to come out or he will kill a girl from that neighborhood. Riley surrenders and goes to Garcia. He beats her up, and she secretly picks a gun from the ground. Just then, the police arrive and Garcia kills Carmichael, assuming he ratted him out to the police. Garcia flees, but Riley catches him, beats him up, and is about to shoot him. Moises arrives and asks Riley to stand down and assures her that Garcia will surely rot in prison this time with no hope of bribing himself out. But Riley is unconvinced, remembering how the system failed her. Garcia taunts her, saying she fulfills her promise of shooting him in the face. As the police shoot at her, Moises orders them to cease fire, and Riley escapes. Next morning, Moises finds Riley badly wounded at her family's gravestone. She asks him to let her die, but he takes her to the hospital. Moises later visits Riley while she is in police custody at a hospital, telling her that there are many, including police officers, who agree with her actions. He indirectly supports her and covertly passes her a key to her handcuffs and walks away to allow her to escape. Riley escapes from there,